Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live from the 704 once again for episode 132 of the 815 Exchange. And my lord, alright, my god, this is going, everybody, get situated. There's been a lot. This has been a highly anticipated episode. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. Had time permitted, and there were 50 billion things going on in the afternoon this past weekend, probably would have been a guest episode. Wanted to have guests on, especially for the trade deadline. I was going to bring the boys on. But of course, time didn't permit that, because that's, adult life. But here we are, episode 132. We got the Super Bowl, we got the trade deadline, we got LeBron breaking the scoring record, we got UFC 284. It is a ridiculously stacked episode. Ridiculously stacked episode. So yeah, as always, remember, everything you're looking for can be found in the description. You always want to say, remember to like, share, and subscribe. I'm going to say that too, right? Remember to like, share, and subscribe if you guys are enjoying the content as always. Last video, especially the reaction video, shout out to XG, went absolutely bonkers. I went absolutely crazy, so I appreciate all the love. And of course, the podcast has been up recently, so that's dope as well. On the road to 900. But yeah, as always, everything you're looking for can be found in the description. Timestamps. So if you want to skip ahead to that Super Bowl segment, feel free to. If you want to skip ahead to whatever segment, all right, the NBA segment, feel free to. Timestamps are provided in the description, and all of my social medias are there as well. If you want to hear me live tweet the various sporting events that go on, or hear my thoughts on life, there it is. But like I said, this is a ridiculously stacked episode, so let's not waste any time, shall we? Let's not waste any time. UFC 284, we started with combat sports, baby. Which is really just MMA this week or UFC. Whichever thing I ended up putting up for that. But yes, UFC 284 this week. Big matchup. Champion versus champion. Islam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski. Alright, Volk was doing it, and I gotta give a shout out to both of the boys down under. Even though Izzy is no longer champion, on his own violation, gotta say, respect. Cleaned out your division, and then you went up. Right, both of them, both Izzy and Volk did that. So yeah, shout out to the boys down under. Two very great champions. Well, straight up great champions, not very great champions. And they both went up, and they both rise to the occasion and took on a major challenge in their opponent. So credit where credit is due. This was one of the best fights of the year. Okay, this is going to, like I said, it's going to be an insane episode. This was fight of the year probably, and so far it's not that it has a lot of competition. But still, at the end of the year, it's probably going to be, fight of the year. All right, we need to run this back. Now, I was out, so I've seen bits and pieces. I still haven't even really watched the full fight in full the way I want to. So I will refrain from giving myself, and telling my own version of what I think the scorecard should have been. But it seems like, from what I've seen, from what I've heard, it could have gone either way. Islam won UD, which I don't know if I fully agree on. You could say Islam won the fight. You could say Volk won the fight. Of course, like I said, I hadn't seen it in full, so I will refrain. But yeah, by all means, it was fight of the year. It was fight of the year so far. It lived up to the hype. Sometimes we get these fights, these major fights in the UFC, and even in boxing, right? And they don't always live up to the hype. It doesn't always hit. This one hit. Oh baby, this one hit. All right, this was an extremely high level fight. The variation of skills, and with Volk and Islam, it's to be expected. But, it was kind of the contrast as well, because, going into this fight, people have probably been like, Islam is Sambo, Dagestani. He might dominate on the ground. That's where he'll have the advantage. Volk, of course, he's got that, kickboxing and all that stuff. He'll probably have the advantage on the feet. It was almost the opposite. Because Islam is such a great counter striker, he was almost outstriking, and he had that timing on Volk on the feet. While on the other hand, when Islam tried to get to work on the ground, Volk was not having it. His takedown defense, his wrestling was on another level. The way that Volk preps is it's immaculate. He's the best pure game planner, I'd say, in the history of the sport. In terms of preparation, creating a game plan for his opponents, and being prepared. There's nobody better, and that is what makes Alexander the great, okay? He's the best at it. Brought it to show against Islam. Nonetheless, Islam still was Islam. He showed why, a lot of people had him tabbed to be lightweight champion and why he is the current lightweight champion. Why I don't really think any lightweight is going to beat him. Even Dustin, Mike, hell, that man Connor's washed, so I'm not going to say him. But, I don't see anybody beating him for a while. But yeah, I think they need to run this back. It was a great fight. Islam got the win. You can say what you want about it, but great fight. Nothing taken away from Volk. He still should be pound for pound #1 in my eyes. In the co-main events, all right? With Volk fighting up, that meant that, Dana wanted to have an interim featherweight fight or whatever. So whoever's going to be Volk's next challenger. Rodriguez, one of the most exciting fighters in the world, in the UFC, for a while now. This was a very, very, very long, I won't say overdue, but overdue kind of title shot. The one that people have been waiting for a while. Josh Emmett got to step up and, get a crack on it after his win streak. Yair went and subbed him in round 2. Josh never looked like he really got too comfortable in this. And Yair just looked just a step ahead, and then, they were fighting on the ground. Yair did great work off the back in his fights. He gets him caught in the triangle. He gets the sub. Josh taps, and that's it. Yair, I guess, technically is a UFC champion, an interim UFC champion, but nonetheless a champion. And it sets up a fight versus him and Volk next. That will be very interesting, very good. Again, I don't see anybody beating Volk, but should be interesting. Congrats to Yair. All credit due. Jack Della, man. Jack Della. All right, if you're not on the hype train now, you might want to start getting on it. He's only 26. He's looking this good. Randy Brown. A lot of people thought he had that reach. He had that advantage. He might be able to do some work. Jack Della has some other ideas. Again, he was in his home country, so the boy went to work. He knocks out Randy Brown, just really shocking fashion. I didn't see that coming. I'm gonna be completely honest. I did not see that coming, but credit where Jack gets credit. He came out firing. Randy finally started to look like, in round 1, by the way, finally started to look like he was getting the timing after a little bit of a slow start. And Jack just said, nah, it's done, finished, forget about it. And you know what? Handle business. Credit where credit's due. Might have a new hype train on the UFC. And to just kind of wrap up the rest of this card, we had Jimmy Cute draw with Alonzo Minfield. Honestly, I think there might be fireworks. This is 2 guys that, had almost miniature hype trains at one point in time before facing some losses. So, they both needed this win. A draw is not exactly what you want, but maybe they run it back. And on the main card as well, Tafa walked off border in glorious fashion. One of the best knockouts we've been seeing all year. So shout out to Josh Tafa, looking like he's going to take over for Mark Hunt as the Samoan/Islander that, is just, big, heavyweight, and just, has bricks for hands. So yeah, shout out to Tafa for getting that done. It was overall a solid UFC 284 card. Of course, the fireworks came at the end. Volk and Islam need to run it back. Now, where do we go next? Let's go to the NBA, shall we? Let's go to the NBA. And with that said, I need to head over to this because I just could not write down all of that in my notes. I'm going to be completely honest. So shout out to Reddit for their thread with all of the trades because that is going to become very necessary in a moment of moments. But before we get to that, of course, the king himself, yes, LeBron James broke the scoring record. Finally, it has happened. It has fallen. A record that a lot of people didn't think would be broken for a very, very long time. But 8 years? Same age as LeBron because it was broken the same year he was born. 38 years it took. Nearly 40 years for Kareem's record to fall. But it fell against the Oklahoma City Thunder. A lot of people wonder if he was going to wait till the Bucks game. Yeah, he wasn't waiting for that because he's also injured now. And apparently his foot's not in pretty great condition. Because Darvin Ham, once again, has been riding him for the past 3 months because the Lakers suck. Now, the king, okay? He did it in glorious fashion. First, he tried to set up that skyhook, didn't work, came back down. They gave it to him, and honestly, top of the key fadeaway is one of the most LeBron ways for him to break that record. So I love it. You know what? I was here for it. And grand celebration. They stopped the game, which I saw some people like, hey, why are they stopping? That happens. All right. I don't know if you're new to sports, but when big records get broken, they stop the game. All right. It's something that happens. All right. I'm sorry that you're like, oh, you're a Bron hater. I don't care. All right. Stop the game. It's justified in this moment because it's a major, major event in the history of the sport. But yeah, Bron broke it. Crazy. Kareem was in sentence, passed over the ball like it was a torch. Savannah was looking beautiful. Bronny, Bryce, Surrey, whole family. He had those, St. Vincent, St. Mary's boys, friends, celebrities. Everybody was in attendance at that game. But yeah, Bron went and broke it in the third quarter. Dropped the dirty ball. Of course, the Lakers lost that game, which should go without notes. But yeah, overall, cool moments. One that we saw coming this year, but yeah, it's crazy. Once again, we've said, it's been said a million times. I've said it probably a million times on this podcast. But it's crazy. It's crazy how he lived up to every bit of that hype. Everybody was like, he's got to be this, and this to work out. And he nailed it. He nailed it. He lived up to the hype and more. Just absolutely insane. But yeah, shout out to the King. He's the all-time leading point scorer in the history of the National Basketball Association. Now, let's talk about the trade deadline because it was a madness. Okay, it was an absolute madness. I could talk about the Lakers first, which I may. But it was just absolutely insane. Because that roster, those clips of Bron breaking the record will live forever. But the problem is that they became outdated about 48 hours later. Those rosters from when the Lakers broke that record, when Bron broke that record, completely outdated to 48 hours later. It was insane. So yeah, let me start with the Lakers, okay? Because 2 days later, as I said, they went and made a 3-team trade. They got D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt. The Jazz got Russell Westbrook, Toscano, Damian Jones, and the Lakers' first-round pick, which is protected first to fourth. The Timberwolves get Mike Conley, Nico Alexander-Walker, 3 second-round picks. And by the way, I want to say, second-rounders were getting traded like candy. All right, they were getting traded like candy at Halloween. It was, everybody was hoarding second rounders and then just pushing them out. They were using it like in 2K when you're playing my GM and you just abuse second rounders, right? To just kind of put like the cherry on top, put a little salt, on the dish, on the tray. That's what was happening in real life though. So it was absolutely insane. But yes, Russell Westbrook traded to the Jazz. We'll see what happens. I think they waived him as well. Because I've been hearing some rumblings about him going to the Clippers. So we'll see what happens there. I actually like this trade for the Lakers, getting D-loading Malik Beasley and Vanderbilt. I think that was a good move depth-wise. I actually liked all of their moves, surprisingly, this time around, to be completely honest with you. They also traded, for the Magic, they traded Mo Bamba over to the Lakers, Patrick Beverley over to the Magic. Pat Bev going to be waived by the Magic, so he will also be a free agent. Of course, the big trade, however, ladies and gentlemen, was Kevin Durant is a Phoenix Sun, which means the Phoenix Suns are by far the championship favorite. They are by far the championship favorites this year because they have the most absolutely disgusting starting lineup in the league. The bench is a little bit, shaky, but the starting lineup is absolutely disgusting. All right, you got CP3, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and DeAndre Ayton, and then whatever forward you want to throw in there. All right, ridiculous lineup. They're already again one of the top teams in the West. This just pushes them even further. But yeah, that team's outrageous. In that trade, they also got T.J. Warren. The Nets got Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Juan Pablo Valette, 4 first-rounders, 1 first-round pick swap into second-rounders. The Bucks got Jay Crowder. The Pacers got George Hill, Serge Ibaka, Jordan Noah, 3 second-rounders and cash considerations. That is a mouthful in an absolute definition of a mega trade. Yes, the Nets blew up. They played 14 or 16 games together. It's one of the two. The big three. And it just blew up. So I will, once again, like I said last week, be looking forward to the eventual 30 for 30 on the Brooklyn Nets. Because what a disaster. What a epic disaster. Probably the worst spelled big three or super team in the history of the league. Just a complete and utter failure. And this is the second time this has happened to the Nets, by the way. But, just complete and utter failure. They blew the team up. At least they got some capital, but, it's still kind of grim because the Rockets own their next, 5 years of first-round picks. So not great, all right? Not great at the end of the day for the Brooklyn Nets. But, yeah, KD, massive trade there. Sadiq Bey got traded for James Wiseman, which was egregious. And in my opinion, a complete finesse of the Pistons, but I know they're tanking because they're not a very good team right now. But yes, it was an absolutely insane, and that was just me kind of covering like the top stuff. It was a ridiculously insane trade deadline. John Wall got traded back to the Rockets, and then they waived him after he said 2 weeks ago all that crazy stuff about the Rockets. They went traded for him. Then of course they had to cut him because can't keep him around. Just absolutely ridiculous. Okay, it was out of hand, out of pocket. It ruined my sleep schedule because it kept happening at 1 a.m. But nonetheless, thoroughly entertaining week in the NBA. Of course, BRON breaking the record, and then KD and just everybody, the Lakers making major deals, all the 14 deals, second rounders getting pushed around like I said, candy. It was an insane week in the NBA, but a very entertaining week. And yeah. All right, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the entertainment segment. Yes, entertainment. Not a lot going on once again, but hear me out. We will include the Super Bowl halftime in here, so I actually have the entertainment segment. But we did have You. All right, You season 4. Okay, everybody's favorite psychopathic, sociopathic, serial killer, stalker, Joe Goldberg, played by the great Penn Badgley, returned for season 4 of You. I've heard some mixed responses about the first parts of season 4. I actually enjoyed it. I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed it. It was nice to see Joe not so much in the pure creep mode, but almost working as a force for good in a way. And once again, it's kind of playing into what is becoming a very popular genre. Shout out to, I guess, Glass Onion, or should I say Knives Out, that franchise. These Clue style, movies of like these whodunits. We've seen a whole lot of them. And again, this is what this, season is about. He's in, England, working as a professor. He gets in with this exclusive clique, and people start dying from that clique, and he has to find out who done it. Of course, it's revealed at the end of episode 5. I don't know how bad, but it's pretty much the person you would think. But he kind of misses it, and the show does a decent job of trying to throw you off the trail. But yeah, I actually enjoyed it. I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the new scene. I enjoyed seeing Joe kind of act differently and move kind of differently after 3 seasons of essentially the same thing being scaled up. So it was interesting, but yeah, I enjoyed it. Penn was great as always, and yeah, I'll be looking forward to part 2. But yeah, You season 4, it gets the co-signer from the boy. Of course, the major news and entertainment this week, of course, is the Super Bowl halftime show and the return of Rihanna. Bad girl Riri returned, the queen of Fenty. And she kept saying, we were getting a new album, but apparently the only new thing we were getting is a new child. Because once again, Rihanna is pregnant. Thank you, A$AP Rocky. Thanks, bro. I mean, I get it. If my girl was Rihanna, I probably would be getting her pregnant as much as possible. But geez, man. Jeez. I knew instantly. Which she didn't really try to hide it. It was kind of blatant. She literally rubbed her tummy and had the jacket kind of cut open so, you could see it. But I was like, ain't no way. Ain't no way. And credit where credit is due. Something I've said a lot. I'm just giving everybody their flowers on today's episode as well, I guess. For doing the Super Bowl halftime pregnant. But also, if you knew we were doing the Super Bowl halftime show and you were just pregnant, by the way, because I felt like she was literally pregnant like a month ago. Just had the kid. Why not just wait till after the Super Bowl to get pregnant again? So you could have performed at full power. Now, she sounded great. Alright, the visual standpoint, okay. Incredible faith in those wires. Because she was about 50, I don't have a fear of heights, but she was about 50 feet in air on the wires that looked very not, super sturdy, but apparently were very sturdy. And thank God they were, of course. But yeah, from a visual standpoint, it looked cool. But I'm not going to sit here and be like, just because it was Rihanna and she's got mad hits and I enjoyed the music, that I'm going to sit here and be like, it was one of the greatest halftime shows of all time. It absolutely wasn't, okay? It was not. It was aight. But it was good to see her back in, a musical capacity. I miss seeing her like that. Again, even though I was, joking and complaining about the child, congratulations once again to Rocky and Riri on their second child. What a way to announce it on the biggest stage of all. But yeah, again, Rihanna's got hits. It's just a shame we're not getting that album anytime soon because once again, Rihanna is a mother. again, thanks again, Rocky. I guess we're not getting the same problems either because he, has to go be a father. But, we'll see what happens. That was entertainment for the week. Now, all right, it's the moment you have all been waiting for. I have managed to become so efficient at doing this. I was very scared. I'm not going to lie. With all the major subjects, I was scared this was going to be like an hour-long podcast, but we are still going to hit this under 30 potentially. And I am astonished. But you know what? Credit where credit's due. I'm giving myself flowers. I give everybody else their flowers. I'm going to give myself flowers today's episode. All right. We managed to make it a shorter episode for you guys, but it's the Super Bowl. All right. NFL. Y'all know what it is, man. Okay. It's gonna be a lot of talking. We'll get to it. Okay. But at the end of the day, I called it. I told y'all it was gonna happen. These things happen. I do these things. I told y'all it was gonna happen. I said it was going to be a very close matchup. I said if I have to pick, I'd pick the Chiefs. And I said it was going to be, a 30-point game. Well, the Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl 38-35 in a very, very good game. So if you watched last week's episode, then you would have known what was going to happen beforehand. Chris Jadamas strikes again. But, like I said, Chiefs get the win 38-35. Of course, in it's controversial fashion because that's the only way the Super Bowl this year could end was on a ref call, because that is pretty much the accumulation of everything that's been going on with sports and refs and just kind of the up and down of what they've been this year. It's been a interesting year to say the least for referees and umpires and officials and whatever you want to call them. It's been an up and down year. Now, the Eagles started this game off scorching hot. They drove down the field. They had control of this game for the majority of the game. All right, they were in control. Jalen Hurts was playing out of his mind. He finished with 374 yards, 70 of those rushing. He also had 4 touchdowns, 3 of them rushing, a hat trick, tied Terrell Davis's Super Bowl record for rushing touchdowns. He played like an elite quarterback. I'm putting my pride aside. Jalen Hurts is him. All right, he's got that dog in him, whatever you want to say. Hurts looked very, very elite. If we don't want to call him elite, we want to hold off for a year, that's fine. But he looked very, very much so elite and like one of that top echelon of quarterbacks. I think we might need to give the boy his flowers. At least I'm going to give him his flowers since I'm giving everybody else their flowers. Jalen Hurts, him. He played great. All right, he was fantastic. He was leading them down the field. They had it working. Nick Sirianni had a great game plan against Kansas City. A great game plan. And it was simple. Very, very simple. The best way to beat the Chiefs is to ensure that Patrick Mahomes does not have the ball. So control possession. And that is what the Eagles did for the first 3 quarters of this game. For the first 3 quarters of this game, they controlled possession. They stayed up on the scoreboard. And they did not give Mahomes a lot of chances. Pretty much no room for error. No room for turnovers. No room for mistakes. No room for 3 and outs. None of that. Didn't give him a chance. But then the Eagles slipped up. Right? They slipped up earlier in the game, by the way, when they could have drove down the field, made it 21-7. Hurts accidentally fumbles. Nick Bolton, who was, nearly questionable, could have possibly been a catch by Miles Sanders before he got popped and lost it. And Bolton returned that one back. We nearly had a Nick Bolton Super Bowl MVP night. He had a great game, by the way, for the Chiefs. Made himself some money, if I say so myself. He takes it back, Hurts, that makes it 14-14 instead of, 21-7 or whatever it would have been if the Eagles kept that drive going. But, they slipped up 3-1. Slipped up, which is funny considering the field conditions, which were god-awful. All right, it was garbage. Arizona, Phoenix, whatever you want, they need to get that fixed because the field was just terrible. Unacceptable for a Super Bowl. Absolutely unacceptable. Grass fields, once again, I'll say it again. I don't know if it's a maintenance thing or whatever you want to call it or a Vince thing. Grass is way better than turf. It has been proven again, whether it's field conditions, whether it's injuries, grass is just way better than turf. But I digress, as I was narrating the game. Eagles slip up, the Chiefs get a chance. They only got the field goal, so the Chiefs go, they make it, 28-27. They go and score. And yeah, from that point on, Chiefs had control. And like I said, once they got a lot more of that possession, they got more of those chances, it was just done. And the Eagles fell apart in that second half. The game plan that worked so cleanly to start the game just wasn't working the same. And yeah, it came down to the wire. It was tied 35-35. They gave it back to the Chiefs. Of course, Mahomes drives down the field, and it comes down to a field goal. Well, actually, wait, it was the punt return, right? Kadarius Toney had the punt return, sets him up at like first and goal or whatever, and yeah, gives it. But Eagles should have, had a chance, whatever you want to say, because James Bradbury gets called for a holding. Now, it was the Chiefs' game plan, which worked, was they basically isolated certain players on the Eagles, certain players really in the secondary, and they picked on them. Well, they did it on the first half, they did it with the linebackers, but certain players were getting picked on. Avonte Maddox was getting picked on in this game. I mean, him, by the way, yeah, Avonte and Trent McDuffie for the Chiefs, by the way, had a nightmare. I tweeted that out. But they had a nightmare, okay? So Avonte Maddox was getting picked on. Darius Slay got picked on in this game as well. And then James Bradbury ended up being a victim in the fourth quarter. He gets beat on a beautiful route from Juju. But when Juju tries to hit the corner, Bradbury does what any DB does when you are beat in a desperate situation and you try to grab hold of something. Now, whether it really affected, what happened in the play, whether, should it have been called, whether you think it was the right call, it got called. It got called. He did hold him. These are the facts. This is what Bradbury said. He held him. It got called. He got caught lacking because he was on the island. Juju beat him. It gets called. Makes it very easy for the Chiefs. Waste the rest of their clock. Don't give Hurts a chance, to drive down the field and make some magic happen. And the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. That's how it ended. Of course, not a lot of people are happy with that. Some people claiming rigged. Ironically claiming it's rigged after all the, script stuff we've been talking about the past 2 weeks in jest. But you know what? I think the Chiefs deserved it. Once again, Bradbury just can't get beat on that play. Regardless of whether it was an actual call or not, you cannot get beat on that play. You just can't. Because if he makes the right play in coverage, then it's an incomplete pass. Hurts gets a chance to drive. But he got beat on that play. He got desperate. He did what he had to do. Maybe even you could have said the pass rush got there and Mahomes didn't really, put it on the money anyway. He doesn't grab, even if he gets beat. They still have a chance, right? We get the field goal, Hurts gets a chance. So, a lot of ways it could have gone. It puts a little bit of a sour taste on what was a fantastic Super Bowl, by the way. Incredible game. Power Super Bowl MVP. Went 21 for 27, 226 total, 3 touchdowns. Isaiah Pacheco, I love the way the boy runs. 76 yards and a touchdown. Travis Kelce had 6 catches, 81 yards, a touchdown, and one absolutely filthy, stinky leg. Devontae Smith had 7 receptions, 100 yards. He was great for the Eagles. A.J. Brown was as well, 6 receptions, 96 yards, and a touchdown. Most of that on that big touchdown. He tracked the ball looking like a great center fielder for the MLB. Phillies might need to, give him a call. Dallas Goedert played the game of his life, honestly. 6 receptions, 60 yards does not tell the story. I don't know if he made that catch, however, which was another questionable in the Eagles' favor, which ironically, I don't know if he made that catch, but you know what? They gave it to him. Goddard played a great game. Looked like the tight end. I think a lot of people thought he was going to be coming out of North Dakota State. And yeah, overall, it was a very, very good Super Bowl. Very entertaining, like I said last week. Very evenly matched teams. I thought it was going to be a great one. We had a lot of great players. They all showed up. Hurts showed up. Mahomes showed up. Everybody looked the part. And, of course, it went down to something that's a little bit iffy. But at the end of the day, congratulations to Andy Reid. Congrats to Pat. Congrats to that Chiefs organization. They built, the best organization in the league. They are the standard right now. And, yeah, credit where credit's due. And, yeah, shout out to the Chiefs. Y'all can tell me what y'all thought about the Super Bowl. But you know what? Overall, I was satisfied. I will thoroughly miss the NFL, however. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the Roundup, which is college basketball this week. I'm going to be completely honest with you. It's just college basketball. Purdue, yes, number 1 Purdue. Zach Edey, I think, scored 24 points and 8 rebounds in the first half, which is confusing because that would mean he didn't score any in the second half, and that just can't be right. That just can't be right. But it's what happened because Northwestern beat number 1 Purdue. Once again, March is going to be mad because nobody wants to be ranked. I mean, nobody wants to be ranked 1. Nobody wants to be ranked 2. Hell, nobody wants to be ranked 3. Okay? I'm just questioning if anybody wants to be ranked at all because just everybody's getting upset. It is an insane year for college basketball. I don't know if it's because of the COVID years, just kind of threw everything for the loop, or if it's the transfer portal. I don't know what it is, but college basketball has been ridiculous. Number 1 loses. However, on the women's side, we had number 1 versus number 3. Biggest matchup in SEC for a very long time. Dawn Staley, Kim Mulkey, South Carolina LSU. All right, Aaliyah Boston, Angel Reese. And they had Angel Reese, who was National Player of the Year candidate, Angel Reese, averaging like 23 and 15, Angel Reese. They had her in hell. All right, South Carolina, Camila Cordosa, 18 and 12, 3 blocks. Zia Cook had 17. Aaliyah Boston, by the way, didn't have put up, crazy numbers, which has been the story this entire year, but was extremely, extremely important this game. She finished with 14, 9, and 3. Morris had to lead the way for LSU with Angel Reese once again just having her day. Not having her day. South Carolina had a great job of putting all those big bodies they have on Angel and just not letting her get comfortable at any point in this game. They jumped on LSU, 18 to 6 to start this game. LSU fought back, made it close, but yeah, they just fell apart. I mean, there was levels. There was clearly levels to this game. All right, this was a levels to this game. All right, South Carolina showed why they are the #1 team. They are battle tested. They are battle hardened. They've been through this before. LSU, new to the block, right? They've just emerged again as, potentially a power with Kim Mulkey, with Angel Reese. They weren't ready for prime time. South Carolina, this is second nature. What Don said, they were beating them, and they were them in this. They get the 20-point win and a massive win versus the #3 team in the nation. LSU's unfortunately had to go. Anything else I want to say? Oh yeah, we got screwed, and I mean, dude, we got absolutely screwed by the refs. I'm a little salty, but my dad gets, bragging rights for now. But we should have won that game, and I'm glad that y'all clarified that after, giving the win to Virginia. But, you know what, it's whatever. We made this a very efficient episode. I'm proud of myself for that. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, for episode 132, absolutely insane. I'm pretty sure I covered everything, and I didn't forget anything. UFC, Super Bowl, BRON, trade deadline, crazy. But I hope you guys enjoyed. But without further ado, I'll show. Signing off.